Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today it's time to go over the suggestions passed to developers, but these ones have been yeeted at the Janitors. These ones are the April Fool's ones. Usually I don't cover these ones, but I thought I'm in kind of a fun mood, so why not? Let's have a look at them and go through them on this wonderful relaxing Sunday. As always, if you enjoy the content, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also like the video. Let's get started. The first one is the Martian Fighting Machine Tripod. The Fighting Machine, also sometimes called the Thing or Tripod, is a Martian war machine which makes up the bulk of the armed forces of the planet Mars. Despite falling into obscurity in recent years due to poor documentation of their use in war and also misinformation spread around regarding their use and design, the Martian Fighting Machine was a formidable weapon designed to completely destroy any type of resistance it could face on the planet Earth. Unfortunately, not much is known to us Earth residents when it comes to how the tripods were created. The tripods were designed by the Martians on Mars, presumably at some point prior to their invasion of Earth in the late 19th century. Sightings conducted by scientists in 1895 confirm that the Martians have been producing these war machines in grooves or pits on the surface of planet Mars. These tripods were used extensively in a set of Martian invasions in the 19th century, documented extensively by H.G. Wells in his post-war recollections. These tripods have taken countless human lives and completely reshaped the Earth as we know it, proving their effectiveness in combat. Due to the time period of their invasions and many attempts by the world governments to hide information on said Martian invasions, we unfortunately only have little information on the specifications of the tripods, mostly provided by H.G. Wells. According to his descriptions, the tripods, as their namesake suggests, were powered by 3 mechanical legs, which allowed them to stride over very long distances. They also came equipped with non-standardized number of tentacles, which were used both as weapons on their own and in order to use a couple of auxiliary Martian weapons specifically designed for use by the tripods. The Martian tripods were presumed to have been made out of aluminium alloys and as such fairly bad armor compared to modern fighting vehicles, mostly comparable to today's M113 APCs in protection. In terms of dimensions, exact measurements are unknown, but they are described to have stood at over 30 meters tall. In addition, unlike most of today's AFVs, the Martian Fighting Machine was designed to be operated by a single crewman, though this was presumably only possible thanks to the Martians' biological advantages. In terms of armaments, the fighting machines were equipped with a Martian heat ray fired from a handgun-like device which was held by one of the tentacles, as well as a gun tube device that was used to dispense a chemical weapon commonly known as black smoke. The next vehicle is the P-167 by Blom & Voss, the BV-250 Zwilling, as it's known. Basically what you do is you take a BV-250, which is a proposed land-based version of the BV-238, and then you double it, so very similar to the HE-111Z. You basically just put 2 together, and there you go. That's the P-167. The next one is the Star Energy Light Tank, and the Star Energy Light Tank, or the SELT, is the definition of a glass cannon. With superb firepower, minimal armor, and essentially zero mobility, there is not much else in War Thunder that can compare to it. The powerful 120mm cannon, especially if given access to high-powered DM53 or 63 rounds, will make it an extremely lethal opponent. Its relatively compact size also makes it relatively hard to hit. However, its lack of armor and other defensive measures such as Laser Warning Receiver or APS make it extremely vulnerable to basically any threat. It also lacks cross-country mobility, as it's also a significant obstacle with it, as it's nearly immobile as a towed anti-tank gun since it's stuck in the sea. We also have a version of the T-55, the T-55 AMV number 343. This was the one which was used in the James Bond film with Pierce Brosnan, probably one of the worst James Bonds to ever have been. The interesting thing about the vehicle is since it had a interesting action scene, you could probably get some add-on brick armor on it, some Perrier ERA as well, and then also maybe even a statue decorator, with of course that being on it. Also, at the same time, maybe you could have a few different little parts of it. Should be a fun vehicle, as always, T-55ers, of course with the James Bond reference too. The next vehicle is the Pluton Tel. This was a French short-range ballistic missile transporter erector launcher. Its development began in the early 60s, and it entered service with the French Army in 1974. This system replaced the US-built Honest John missile system, and the Pluton was used in service for 19 years and then withdrawn in 1993. Just over 100 of these systems were built and only 70 were deployed. The French Army was the only operator of the system. This missile user was designed to engage enemy launch sites with nuclear missiles, artillery positions, airfields, command posts, communication units, and other important targets. The Pluton missile was a single-stage solid-fuel missile. It could be fitted with conventional high-explosive or nuclear warheads. The actual nuclear warheads were only attached to the missile just before launch. These warheads were fitted with a parachute and detonated 150 meters above the ground. When the vehicles were traveling, these nuclear warheads were carried in sealed containers by ordinary utility trucks. It was also fitted with a crane, which could be used to unload the missile from the truck and put inside the launcher. The maximum range was limited to 120 kilometers, which only allowed it to strike targets in West Germany or within France itself. This shortcoming led to the development of the longer-range Hades, as Pluton could not reach major Soviet targets. For naval, you just have a duck. Also for naval, you have the space battleship, the EDF Yamato. This is Earth's mightiest battleship. The history of EDF Yamato has been regaled countless times through 2 documentary television series and various films, so isn't worth going into the prior history. Yamato was born from the fires of the war with Gamilon in 2199 AD, as an intergalactic capable space battleship. She was the Earth's last hope for survival in a brutal galactic campaign that had left Earth hopelessly irradiated. However, with the technology provided by Queen Starsha of the distant planet Iskander, Yamato was able to travel 148,000 light-years to the Magellanic Cloud and retrieve the Cosmo DNA, even while facing constant battles with Gamillan aggressors and heal the Earth. Her battle capabilities were a quantum leap for the Earth Defense Fleet and allowed her to receive with distinction against the invasion of the Comet's Empire and aiding leader Deathlock against the Dark Nebula's attack on Iskander, after which the story begins for this refit. After the Dark Nebula was defeated at Iskander, the Earth Defense Command recognized that the Dark Nebula would come to fear Yamato and put it in the space station Icarus for refitting and concealment. Lo and behold, when the Dark Nebula, who were angered by their defeat at Iskander, came for revenge against the Earth, their primary objective in suppressing the Earth forces was locating and destroying the Yamato. Her crew, minus the radio operator, Nova Forrester, successfully joined up and shipped up to the Icarus, where the veteran Captain Yamanami took the helm, and Executive Officer Stephen Sandor's niece, Mio, took over the radar. The Yamato had undergone a major refit, and the new capabilities it had were sorely needed against the mighty Dark Nebula fleet. Despite the enemy's powers, after a long journey and great sacrifice, Yamato was able to successfully stop the Dark Nebula from detonating their Hyperion bomb and destroy the Galactic Menace for good after blowing up the robotic planet Desarian. We got some Weeb crap in the form of the Shiratsuyu class Kanmushi destroyer, the Shiguri, the Kaisan. So I'm gonna read through this as best as I can. Shiguri was initially ordered as one of the 12 new destroyers under the first replenishment plan in 1930, following the conclusion of the London Naval Treaty. However, following the initial trials of Hatsuharu in 1933, which showed issues with the design being top-heavy, improvements were ordered. Shortly after these orders, on the 12th of March 1934, the Tomazuru incident made the issues even more apparent. As the last 6 new destroyers were still in early stages of construction, it was decided to complete them with an overhauled design. The design would result in the Plan F-45D, the Shiratsuyu class, with Hatsuharu being Plan F-45, Ariake being F-45B, and Yugur being F-45C. As Shigur was still in the early stages of construction following these, she was completely following the new design as the second ship of the Shiratsuyu class. Following her launch on the 18th of May 1935, outfitting and trials lasted until the 7th of September 1936, after which she was officially commissioned. Her first assignment took place on the 24th of September 1936 until the 12th of October of the same year. It was to escort the battleship Hei, which was transporting Emperor Hirohito to Hokkaido from Yokosuka, alongside her sister and first of the new class, Shiratsuyu. Following this trip, the two sisters stayed with Hei to take part in the 1936 Fleet Review of the 29th of October 1936. After Shigur and Shiriatsu returned to Yokosuka on the 1st of November, blah 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 blah. Nobody cares. The first mechanical post is tanks are ruining Ground RB, so implement tank crew combat. Let's face it, the real issue with Ground RB is the tanks. Now hear me out. All tank crews carry weapons for self-defense. When are we going to get dismounted tank crews and have them fight each other with AKUs and MP7s? Then Ground RB will finally be balanced, no CAS and no tanks. Also, we have a super realistic mode. I don't know if I'm late or allowed at all, but I have a suggestion kind of thing for the incoming April Fool's Day. You know, one of the main whining topics about here is realism. So as an event during April Fools, we can give people an extremely realistic sim mode experience. In this mode, only vehicles older than the 60s should be allowed, no markers for enemies or allies, no indicators of any kind like speed, fuel, ammo, or even ammo type, no reloading on field, such as capture points, etc., and no repairs. You can announce it like a normal feature, then include some foolish details, such as tanks are breaking down for no reason, getting trapped in the mud, barrels jammed at random shots, planes exploding in midair, planes getting hit by lightning strikes. That's up to your creativity. In-vehicle indicators showing wrong details, bombs and shells not detonating on impact, or when the fuse ends, and also having only limited numbers of vehicles because of availability or doctrine. As I said, I think this fits as a fun side event like the potato firing tanks we had in the past. This is just an idea I had for a long time, so if anybody has any opinion or suggestion, we can turn it into a bigger suggestion. How about no? More Weeb stuff in the form of a decal, the Undertaker decal of the Shinei Nozen from 86. Weebs. The last one is a Pig ATGM on a helicopter. Hope you all had a wonderful day. See you next time. I'd just like to thank Millie Draper, Juan the Panda, Nick R. Kupila, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Merciless Reaper, Orange Tail, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Moxie B. Young, Peter Grayling, Jerry Provolt, Bareen, Alan Hacker, Sem Arslan, Uncle Bean, Derek R, and Lafouche for supporting the channel.